I told my mother, I said, I want to do that when I grow up. And I can promise you this, I never wanted to do anything but what I'm doing. I'm Doyle Lawson, and this is my Bluegrass Story. We were living in a little coal camp over in southeastern Kentucky. Dad worked for the Blue Diamond Coal Company. He rededicated his life and started going back to church. And he would lead the congregation, things like that. And that kind of evolved into a trio at first with my dad, my mother, and one of his nephews. I've always loved the sound of voices, loved the sound of music. And when Dad and the quartet, when they would practice, but all the other kids, most of the time, they'd be outside playing in the yard. I would watch them when they would work out their harmonies. And that was fairly easy to catch on for me. I can't ever remember a time when I wasn't trying to sing. Nobody in my immediate family played an instrument. Dad didn't play. My sister could play a little bit of piano, very, very basic. My youngest brother knew probably 3 chords on the guitar. That was about it. My dad sang in an a cappella quartet, and one of the members of the quartet, Mr. Willis Bird, I found out that he had a mandolin. I was about 11 years old, and I asked my dad if he'd see if I could borrow it. This is the one I learned to play on, and we were having a church revival, and it was a Saturday night, and he brought it to me, and I took it to the car. When it started raining about the time I got to the car, and seemed like a pretty good excuse not to go in because it's wet outside. And I sat out in the car and actually learned to pick me a little tune with one finger. I made up a little melody, you know, and I was really proud until my dad came to the car after church, and then he said, "That's all well and good, but next time you be in church, you know." So I gave it back to Mr. Bird. The first year that I put my band together, it would have been 1979 in the fall. I played the old high school in Hancock County, where what time they could keep me in school. That's where I went to school. And he brought it out and gave it to me. It was in pretty bad shape. The back was off almost, and the top was cracked. And I carried it to John Paganoni, who was building mandolins for me at that time. And I said, "John, I don't care whether I can play it or not. Just if you get it to where looks okay. John Paganoni never does anything halfway. He always goes all out, or he doesn't do it at all. So actually, you could really tune it up and play it, because he totally reconstructed and put it back together. When they inducted me into the Hall of Fame in 2012, and they were collecting artifacts, I thought that this would be the perfect place for this mandolin. I had a mandolin that I was really struggling with. It was terrible shape. I think the scale was off, and you couldn't get it in tune. And I met John sometime in late '72. He saw that, and he said, I build mandolins. He said, next time I come out, I'll bring one over and let you play it. And it wasn't long that he was back at Andrews, and he brought Paganoni number 4. And so I picked it up, and whoa. I didn't tell anybody else. I just tuned it up, went back on for the second set. So Bill Emerson kicked into the first song, and I started playing with my chop, and he looked around, and he said, "What is that?" I said, "It's a mandolin that John built." He said, "That thing is louder than my banjo." So anyway, I got off stage. I said, "I don't know what I got to do, but I got to have one of your mandolins." In January of '73, he came back, and he brought this one. This is number 9 of the ones. He brought this one, and I played it that week. It's been with me ever since. I've had a lot of people offer a lot of money to buy it, but it's not for sale. I would like for this to be on display here in the museum as well, along with this baby here.
Horses, bourbon, and the great outdoors. That's Kentucky. Original, majestic, and wide open. In one day, visit legendary distilleries, explore horse country, or put on your hiking shoes and get out there. This is Kentucky. Come see for yourself. Plan your road trip at KentuckyTourism.com.
Hey everybody, I'm Dan Tominski. My favorite magazine is Bluegrass Unlimited. It can be yours too.
Get your subscription to Bluegrass Unlimited, the monthly print publication of bluegrass music since 1966. Bluegrass Unlimited includes feature articles on bluegrass history and tradition, current artists and bands, and so much more. Subscribe today online at bluegrassunlimited.com. And if you subscribe today using code MyBluegrassStory, you'll save 15% of the regular subscription rate.
The Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum, located in beautiful Owensboro, Kentucky, is your destination for bluegrass music. With interactive exhibits, you'll learn about the early innovators of the music, like Bill Monroe and Flatt and Scruggs. But you'll also discover the artists of today who are following in their footsteps. But that's just the beginning. Experience the music behind the exhibits by playing music in our pick-and parlor and by enjoying a live show in our beautiful theater. Appearing soon at the Hall of Fame, Darren and Brooke Aldridge on April 23rd, Daly and Vincent on May 6th, and Dan Tominski on May 14th. Use the promo code on your screen to save on concert tickets at bluegrasshall.org. And when visiting the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum, be sure to check out the exhibit highlighting the artists featured on the television show My Bluegrass Story. Plan your trip to Owensboro, Kentucky today and discover your bluegrass story. Learn more at bluegrasshall.org.
I could have been more than 5 years old. We were like a lot of families. We would try to get to tune in the Grand Ole Opry on a Saturday night. I heard Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys, but there was something about that music that was different than, totally different than all the other artists of that day, which would have been Roy Acuff and Eddie Arnold, Red Foley, Ernest Tubb, go down the list, you know. But Monroe's music was more intense. I knew there was a difference, and whatever it grabbed me, it never has turned me loose. I told my mother, I said, I want to do that when I grow up. And I can promise you this, I never wanted to do anything but what I'm doing as a profession. Now, I did a lot, in the early days, we did a lot of stuff that we didn't want to do, and so we could play music. My first interest and my first energy went towards the music, and the other jobs that I had was so I could do that. I wanted to be Bill, and later I figured out that, you know, that's impossible. You know, nobody is like anybody else. But I loved it. I still love his playing. He played a mandolin with the authority that he sang with. They were hand in hand.
What am I living for, if not for you? Oh, nobody else will do. What am I longing for, each lonely night, to fill your lips to mine, to hold you tight. You'll be the only girl my whole life through. Oh, nobody else will do. I want you close to me, that's all I know. I want you all the time, 'cause darling, I love you so. What am I living for, if not for you? What am I living for, if not for you? What am I living for, if not for you? Baby, nobody else will do. I want you close to me, that's all I know. I want you all the time, 'cause darling, I love you so. What am I living for, if not for you? What am I living for, if not for you? What am I living for, if not for you? Baby, nobody else will do. Baby, nobody else will do.
My first job as a pro was as a banjo player. Yeah, Jimmy, I mentioned I'd met Jimmy when I was 14. His brother-in-law took an interest in me and me playing, and so he found out I was playing banjo. He said, tell that boy to keep playing banjo, I might need him someday. The reason I really started playing banjo, well, two reasons. By that time I took a look at my options. I knew that I wanted to hopefully wind up in Nashville and maybe hook on with Bill or Jimmy, because I love their music. Well, Monroe was a mandolin player. Jimmy had Paul Williams, and so I looked at the other. Don Reno Red Smiley had Don's son Ronnie. Ralph and Carter had they stopped carrying a mandolin player, as did Flat and Scruggs. So my options were, and Bobby Osborne he was a mandolin player. I thought, well, my options are better if I learn to play banjo. Plus the fact that we had 2 guitars and a mandolin in the band, that little old band we had. So I talked to Woodrow Johnson. I talked him into getting a bass. He was a good bass singer. I said, well, play bass. I won't play guitar. He played with his thumb pick, and he loved Lester Flatt. I said, we need a bass player. So he bought a bass, and I said, I'll learn to play banjo. In February of '63, well, on the 3rd day of February, I auditioned and got the job and played banjo.
In the heart of bluegrass country, on the banks of the Ohio River, there's a place where healthcare is different, where it's woven into the very fabric of our local communities, where doctors practice more than medicine. They practice living. Here, everyone cares for the patient and treats them like a neighbor, because they are one. This place is called Owensboro Health, where a healthier community is what we do.
There's a city where a river of music flows, where you're invited to discover its deep roots in bluegrass music, and heritage and harmonies converge. It's a community that's just like the music it's home to, welcoming and authentic. This is Owensboro, Kentucky. This is the bluegrass music capital of the world.
On June 22nd to 25th, 2022, ROMP Festival takes place in Owensboro, Kentucky. Produced by the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum, ROMP features 4 days of music, camping, jamming, and much more. Immerse yourself in bluegrass music by experiencing live performances from over 25 artists. Plan your trip to ROMP Festival in Owensboro, Kentucky on June 22nd to 25th, 2022. More information about ROMP can be found at rompfest.com.
I wanted to take it a little further and push it a little more than I was there. And I've been there for 7.5 years. Quite honestly, I was getting a little restless. The bottom line was, it was the challenge. I thought, I wonder what it would be like to go in on the ground floor without having to step in and adapt to what is already there. So I decided to go for it. I had no idea. I didn't know if it would work or not. I felt like it would, but there was nothing sure about it. But I brought a lot of songs that my dad had sang in the quartet when I was a kid. And a lot of them I recorded from memory, and some of them I'd abbreviate because I couldn't remember the last verse or whatever, but they liked that. The rehearsal started, and they averaged 12 to 18 hours every day. When I started booking dates, we'd leave and had a little Ford van that we would travel in, and we would literally sing all the way to the date and do our show and sing all the way back home or wherever else we were going. We'd sing until we ran out of energy, So Barry Poss, he was in the early days of his record company at Sugar Hill, and I had done my solo recording for Barry, the Tennessee Dream, when he was working for County Records. So he started Sugar Hill, and I called him up and told him what I was doing, and I needed a label, and I sent him a demo, and he said, when do you want to go to the studio? And anyway, so one day he was at a show that we were in, and we were singing backstage. He said, can I ask you something? I said, yeah. He said, is there ever a time that you guys don't sing? I said, only when we're asleep. That's about it, Old Hickory Hornpipe. I had written that, I don't know how long ago it's been, and I had no idea what I was going to play, even on the way in there. But I thought, damn, I hadn't played it in a while, and I hadn't. And it took a little bit because it's got some difficult sections in there. But I decided I'd play that one because it's a kind of a happy tune, and it's a happy day, you know. So I'll just do that one.
The Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum, located in beautiful Owensboro, Kentucky, is your destination for bluegrass music. With interactive exhibits, you'll learn about the early innovators of the music, like Bill Monroe and Flatt and Scruggs, but you'll also discover the artists of today who are following in their footsteps. But that's just the beginning. Experience the music behind the exhibits by playing music in our pick-and parlor and by enjoying a live show in our beautiful theater. Appearing soon at the Hall of Fame, Darren and Brooke Aldridge on April 23rd, Daly and Vincent on May 6th, and Dan Tominski on May 14th. Use the promo code on your screen to save on concert tickets at bluegrasshall.org. And when visiting the Bluegrass Music Hall of Fame and Museum, be sure to check out the exhibit highlighting the artists featured on the television show My Bluegrass Story. Plan your trip to Owensboro, Kentucky today and discover your bluegrass story. Learn more at bluegrasshall.org.
American Patriot Getaways has cabin rentals in Gatlinburg for any group size or budget. From a romantic studio for two to a 13-bedroom chalet, we can help you make memories any time of year. Break away from the everyday and take in the fresh mountain air from our cabin rentals in Gatlinburg and Pigeon Forge. Enjoy luxurious amenities like a steamy hot tub, exciting game room, breathtaking views, or even a private indoor pool. Find your favorite cabin rentals in Gatlinburg today.
The Bluegrass Festivals, of course, came about in the mid-'60s, and it was a really good thing when they did take hold. It was a struggle for a few years to get them up and running, but then they started building, and people would have one here and here and here, and then all of a sudden you're going west of the Mississippi River, you're going to Missouri, you're going to Oklahoma, and you know, Texas, and lo and behold, all of a sudden you're in California. Festivals really gave the musicians a avenue of income. One time there was close to 500 festivals, so you had plenty of work, and so that was a godsend. You built a fan base that way very easily, and you made a lot of friends. And oddly enough, after almost 60 years, I still have had people come up and tell me they saw me when I played banjo for Jimmy. And so I saw you down in Texas, and I said, really? You know, how old were you? You know, anyway. But you know, you make a fan in this music, and you know, be a stand-up person, be the real you, and you'll have a fan for life. You see them, and they'll come to show after show if they're within a driving range. People, then they would come and camp out. In the early days, it was primitive. Now they have, you know, hookups and motorhomes and things like that. There's an aura about Owensboro that reeks in bluegrass. It loves bluegrass. There's a special thing about this area here. I still have a big place in my heart for Owensboro. And the ROMP thing, you know, there's a lot of good music, you know, that have a little different twist on it. Some bluegrass, some not so bluegrass. But that's okay. It's a special place. With the museum here, the artifacts, the things that the artists have been willing to share, as well as the display that you've got on the wall here behind me, they can come in and if they play a G chord on the guitar, they can, you know. So all that, we had nothing like that until this came about. It's only going to get better. I'm just happy to be a small part of it.